Hi there, how are you doing? Now in this video you're going to learn about prototype pattern. So what is the difference between all these patterns and prototype pattern? Okay, let me explain. Whenever a function is created, its prototype property is also created behind the scene. Okay, so which is an object. Okay, the prototype is an object. So whenever a function is created, its prototype property is also created. For example, person.prototype.constructor points to the person itself. Okay, so here what I've done, this is the same function we had before. So what I've done here is a person.prototype.constructor. I have used the prototype property which comes by default. Behind the scene it is created, and I'm pointing to that prototype's constructor. So this will point to this person object itself. Okay, let's see this one, and as you can see, it prints out the function person function itself. Okay, so instead of assigning object information in the constructor like so, created a new instance and assign like so. Instead of doing that, what we can do is we can assign directly to the prototype, because like I said, prototype gets created behind the scene and it is an object. So instead of doing all this, what we can do is just reference this person. Like if you want to add more properties and methods, we simply call this function and then add prototype and whatever you want to add, so that's what we can do, and that's what we're going to do in this lesson. Okay, so let's write this function, and by the end you will fully understand. All right, so for example, let's create a person function, and let's not put anything, just an empty function. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add new properties and methods. So how I'm going to do that is, instead of doing the other ways that we saw earlier, I'm going to use prototype. Okay, person.prototype, and what do I want to add? I want to add name. Okay, so name, right, and same as this one. Let's create two more. So let's say age, let's say 30, and then person prototype, let's say name function, and let's create a function. Okay, now we can create a new person variable. Person1 equals to new person. Okay, now what we can do is person1 dot say name, save, refresh, and as you can see, the name prints out Ryan. So what happened is properties are added directly to the prototype property. Okay, prototype property of person, which is an object, and it is possible to call the constructor to create a new object and have the properties. So unlike constructor pattern, the properties and methods are shared among all the instances, no matter how many times I create a new person. I can create person 2, I can instantiate a new person as many times as I like. These properties are shared. Okay, before, when we were working on this constructor pattern, every time it was creating a new function behind the scene. However, on this prototype pattern, all the properties and methods are shared. Now we get a couple of methods with these objects, such as is prototype of, that helps us determine if it is the prototype of certain function. For example, let me create one more instance of this one. Let's call it person2. Now what I can do is I can use the is prototype of property to determine if it is a prototype of person. Okay, so let's say alert person prototype is prototype of person1. So what I'm trying to say is the person's prototype is prototype of person1, and we can do the same with person2. Okay, and let's see if they point to the same person. Okay, so let's see. So Ryan, true, true. Okay, so yeah, both of these person1 and person2 are prototype of this person. Okay, so they're pointing to the same person. So we also covered earlier in the object basics about the hasOwnProperty method. We can use hasOwnProperty to check if the property exists on that object instance, right? And we also learn about delete, how we can use delete to delete the properties. And we also learn about for-in operator. So how we could iterate through the each properties using for-in. So if you're not sure, just go back to the object basics. I'm sure there are 2 lessons earlier I have created, so they will give you a better understanding of these ones. Okay. Now one more I haven't covered yet is the object keys. Okay. So what object keys lets you do is you can retrieve a list of properties of an object using the object keys method. So it accepts the object as an argument and returns an array of strings containing the names of the properties. For example, let's say variable keys equals to object.keys. So you can use this object.keys method, and this method accepts object as an argument. So the object that we're trying to get the keys of is a person. So let's say person prototype. We're getting the keys of the person.prototype. Okay, now console log keys. Refresh, we see these alerts, and we can see all the properties using the object.keys. Okay, so you will come across this situation where you need to use the object keys. Now one more thing, instead of writing all these properties manually like so, what we can do is we can create the object. We can use the object literal. For example, person.prototype equals to, we create an object and we can put all these name Ryan, like so, just like we're creating object. We can say age equals to 30, say name okay. So we can do it this way, which is much better than this way. Okay, so this is how we can define the prototype and create new instance of new object instance. Okay, yeah, okay. So this is a better way. What we can also do is we can also define the constructor itself. So in the constructor, and what we can say is person. So everything behaves perfectly, but we can see now the new property has been added, which is constructor, and this is how we can get granular control over constructor. Now instead of this constructor now points to this person object instead of this person. Okay, now the constructor is equal to this object rather than the person instead of person. All right, so I know that there's a lot going on in this video, but you don't have to understand all at once. Just understand that there is something called prototype. Whenever a function is created, its prototype property is also created, which is an object, and on that object we can add new methods and properties, and we can extend the functionality so that we can instantiate more than one times easily. That's the whole point. So I'll show you another pattern, which is a combination of constructor and prototype pattern, and which takes the good parts of both these patterns, and that's called the combination of constructor and prototype pattern. That will give you much better understanding of objects in JavaScript. All right, so I'll see you in the very next video. Thank you.